Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. This is the very first episode of Decentralized Podcast. Intention of the podcast really is that we explore the people, protocols, and projects that are hopefully going to drive the next 100 million users into the Web3 space. And today we're joined by Chad and Rick from the Seedify team. Really delighted to have you guys on board and learn a bit more about what Seedify are doing to help projects launch in the space. And also a bit more about your experience of living through what has been, a pretty savage bear market in 2022, and looking forward into 2023 and beyond. So maybe if we start just by an intro. I can see you in order on my screen of Chad and then Ricky. So if we start with you, Chad, and give yourself an intro.
Brilliant. Hi, so I'm Chad and I work at Seedify, and I'm in the incubation team working with projects focusing on NFTs. That's my role. Focusing on their NFTs, their launch utilities, and many different things. But yeah, that's me, pretty much.
Good stuff. And Ricky?
Thank you, Baz. By the way, it's an honor to be the guest of the first episode of Decentralized, and really appreciate the invitation. So I'm the project acquisition manager in Seedify. Not just that, but as well as Chad and others, we try to help the project in many areas, not just in our specialization. This is me. Thank you for inviting.
Good stuff. Yeah, really looking forward to kind of digging in and learning a bit more about the incubation program, especially because they say the bear market is for building, right? So there must be a lot of kind of interesting projects that you get in your teeth into at the moment. I think just before we kind of dig into like that Web3 world, I'm always also interested in where people came from. Like maybe if Chad, you kind of give us some background on yourself before you got into Web3. What was your former life before you joined the dark side here?
Wow, yeah. All right, sure. So I got into crypto, I guess it was 2017, late 2017, just before the big boom, I would say.
It makes a big difference, right?
Yeah. I mean, I got wrecked, of course, like most people. But yeah, basically, I got in and I was very interested in nodes in the beginning for some strange reason. So I was running some nodes on some small cap coins. Then the bear market hit, and I wouldn't say lost interest, but I was away from it for a bit. Then I got into crypto mining, so I was mining a lot of Ethereum and also some other coins, proof of space. I had at one point in my house, I think I had like over 100 hard drives spinning around in my living room during COVID lockdown. So yeah, it was quite funny. And yeah, I got into also same running nodes, mining, and then NFTs. All of a sudden, like I saw this thing, NFTs. I'm like, whoa, what's this? And then I went into the rabbit hole, and I'm the type of person like my rabbit holes generally last months, and I was just in it, looking, researching, looking at the tech, looking at the what's out there. Then I got quite into a few NFT communities, seeing different utilities, different NFTs, mostly gaming, and then I found, or Seedify found me, and so yeah. Now I'm working in the incubation team, mostly focused on NFTs, but not limited to. Sometimes, of course, if it's like partnerships and different things, we always help out. But yeah, that's how I got into crypto.
Good stuff. Yeah, I almost consider that like 2017 phase like the second generation OG, because there was really early people, right? Like 15, 16, even back to 13. That were kind of looking in this space, but I think that 2017 is when I got into it as well, and the same kind of journey, wrecked, and then lost some interest, and then came back in like 20. So yeah, I consider us both to be the second generation OGs, because there's people earlier than us, but a lot of people later than us. And Rick, how about yourself?
Yeah, totally in the same generation, I guess. Like in my normal life, I was a teacher, and I was basically teaching English to like all ages. Yeah, and also was interested in crypto like in late 2017, and I bought a lot of new payment method tokens at blow of top of that bull run, and like maybe like many of us, like the second generation OGs, as you call, I just felt like bad, like getting all those tokens at blow of top, believing that they are gonna recover, and I just stopped looking at crypto for a while. And like every now and then I was going into Telegram and checking like what other people are doing, are they still checking, and then that was like a dead silent compared to the blow of top period of that bull run. So 2022 was like nearly exactly the same of that area. Every crypto group became so silent, like a dead silence. Every friend of mine stopped talking about crypto. But this time, it was a bit different for me, because like I was in the business now, so there was no point of shutting up, right? Like it's as they call, like it's best time to build in the bear market. So this time was different. Yeah, and my relationship with NFTs, like to be honest, I don't know much about NFTs, but my first contact with NFTs was CryptoKitties. Very interesting. I was so early for CryptoKitties. Like I was there in the second day, and I traded some kitties, with good profit. Then suddenly the breeding never stopped, and now we have maybe 10 million kitties. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I think that kind of early generation of the NFT phase was something I missed, actually. I was more paying attention to the kind of crypto end of Web3 and not necessarily the NFT side. I probably missed quite a few opportunities there. But as you also said, like the bear market's pretty savage. Living through it and accumulating now is hopefully not only an education process for us, but also hopefully a bunch of opportunities to make a bit of money as well. So yeah, we're kind of living through it now and hopefully coming out the other side. I think people describing the phase we're in as like crypto spring, where it starts to warm up a little bit. Not here in England where it's still like 3 degrees, it's still freezing, but yeah, I think it's warming up a little bit, which is good. And then I guess getting into kind of where you are now with the Seedify Incubation Programme, who's best to give us a bit of an overview of exactly not just what the incubation program is, but for people that may have not have heard of Seedify, what's the business, and then what's the program that you run within it?
Rick, do you want to go ahead, or do you want me to do a quick intro?
You could go ahead.
All right. So in our incubation program, what we're mainly focused on is basically we take the projects. I mean, there's a selective process, of course, where we select different types of projects, but the main idea is when they come to the incubation program, we help them on like every single aspect you can imagine: marketing, gameplay, game strategies, tokenomics, NFTonomics, I like to call it, all these different strategies, and we really help them all the way to TGE and beyond. So even if, after TGE, we help with marketing, different NFT sales, and many different things. So basically, it's like a one-stop. It's like a one-stop where you get pretty much as really like nice advice from, like, I think there's 10 people of us in incubation alone focusing on our projects, and then we have help from other branches of Seedify. So there's the marketing branch, there's many other branches, but yeah, focusing solely on projects, it's 10 of us. So each one of us has our own speciality. I'm NFTs, but there's also for tokenomics, there's also for gameplay and game economy and different things like that. So basically, it's one place where you can find all the help you ever wanted to have for your project in one. And even if we don't like, say for example, that there's things that we don't do, we can always find a solution provider, put them into contact with solution providers that we've made sure that they're good solution providers, and we've made sure to choose the best one. Then we provide them with options. We say, okay, there's this one, this one, this one, which one, like, we can do intros for all, then you can make your decision. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do. It's I would say like a lot of incubation programs, I mean, not just in crypto, or I mean in a lot of spaces, it's more like advisory, but what we do is really hands-on. Like really hands-on. Most projects we meet at least twice a week, at least. And if they want 3, 4, 5, 6 calls with different things, we're always open. So it's really a one stop for all the services you ever need in Web3. And
I guess the end goal of the program is to then ultimately then launch that project on the Seedify IDO platform, right? Which is the core offering. If somebody was to come to your website and looked at Seedify, that's what they see, right?
Exactly. So we make sure that everything is really aligned, like the gameplay, the game, blockchain integrations, and then after we have a look at it, and internally we're like, okay, let's do this, let's launch, and then we would eventually launch it. So it's really like in the bear market, you can't just launch without having a nice plan, nice gameplay, token utilities, NFT utilities. You can't just launch. You have to have things already there in place for you to have a successful launch. So that's what we do. We make sure that all the boxes are ticked, and we have all of the things done, so that when they launch, it's going to be a successful launch. Yeah.
And we've mentioned two bits of terminology in there. There's the IDO and the INO, which is a new acronym that's kind of come into the market in the last 3 to 6 months, I guess. Could you give us a bit of an overview of what each of those services are, kind of what they do?
Rick, do you want to do the IDO IGOs part, and then I can do the INO?
Yeah, why not? So
I don't want to hog the floor.
Yeah, sure. I'll give the INO part to you, of course. And yeah, the IDO is a general term for the token sales, like where you have that initial DEX offering. Obviously, launchpads are not decentralized exchanges, but the term just stayed there for the token sale, I guess. And IGO is the initial game offering, which is particularly about the gaming tokens. And maybe we could include there like gaming and metaverses, like gamify in general. And yeah, I'll leave the INO part to the chat.
Yeah, so the INO is quite new. We actually have our first sale of our first NFT collection. I think it's on let me just double check here. The 13th of February, I believe, is going to be our mount sale, which is our own NFT that we're launching at Seedify, which is going to be used in the metaverse seed worlds that's being created at the moment. So that's going to be our first launch, and then after that one, we are also going to be free to launch other NFT collections. Initial NFT offering, INO. It's it's basically an NFT sale. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Really looking forward to it.
And if you give us the link to the mount sale that's coming up on the 13th, we'll put it in the notes for this as well, so that people can find it. With so I guess bearing in mind that most of the work that you're doing in the incubation side of things is with I guess project founders that are looking for that additional layer of support to launch their project. What do you find are some of the biggest challenges of those founders, whether it be NFT projects or more on the kind of Web3 crypto side?
So like I'll again leave the NFT part to the chat. But I think in general in Web3 ecosystem, right, especially in Web3 gaming ecosystem right now, the founders are facing so many challenges compared to 2021. So like I cannot recall if we launched Penguin Cards in 2021, but
yeah, it was a year ago now. We worked together on that. So that was February 2021, which was before the big collapse of 20. No, it was 2022. So, but it was before the Luna and FTX kind of issues of last summer. So it was spring last year.
Yeah. So like how things worked in 2021 was basically you find an idea and you visualize it. I'm not talking about Penguin Cards, by the way. Like I'm sure, like including Penguin Cards, many founders didn't face the problems that are facing in 2023. Just for that comparison. So you find an idea, and you make a website, you make a pitch deck presenting that idea, and then you collect money from the VCs, and then you launch on a launch pad, and you pump, and that's it. And a year later, probably there is not much left from the project, because like it was an idea, it was created in an hyped environment, and then like it was welcomed really well by the crypto community. But then, like, either the development stops or either the funds are not enough. I'm not sure, but something happens and the project slowly vanishes away. So in 2023, actually also last year, we started to have a more strict due diligence on the games that we are launching. Like first and foremost, we started to ask like an MVP, like a build, like even full of bugs or stuff, like a demo that we can test and experience the game itself. So first of all, this changed everything. And second of all, even though due diligence process is much stricter, even though the projects are trying to build a product before like everything else, it was a tough year, and it is still a tough year because many VCs that invested in gaming projects in 2021 got basically wrecked. So like I'm sure many of them didn't even get their initial investment back because they have the longest, unlocks. They have the longest vestings and stuff. So like the price advantage of like 5%, 10% doesn't even mean anything, I guess, if the vestings are so long and if the project token cannot survive. So I think this is the hardest part, like getting the investment, and even launching on a launchpad and selling out. Like thankfully we are still selling out the projects, but it's not all about selling out. I mean, after the launch, what is going to happen is very important, especially after we release the protected launch clauses. That may end up with a refund.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point that raising money isn't the only challenge. I think a lot of people that get into this space to some degree have almost the rose-tinted glasses or the hope that they can build things cheaper and faster, when actually some of these projects are probably more complicated and more technical than initially thought. So it's that support and guidance, making sure that you're building efficiently, getting an MVP to market, which is usable, maybe starts to drive some revenue, grows a mature, sustainable business, rather than selling an idea and never building anything, which unfortunately was like the 2021 model for some of the early projects, wasn't it? They kind of suffered that hype and then bust, which I think is what...
Sorry, Baz, sorry for interrupting. Just a note, it's not to blame, by the way, the 2021 project, because I think it was nearly the same with 2017, 2018 DeFi hype, like where ICOs, there were a lot of ICOs and every new project was claiming like they're going to achieve something that has never been achieved. And basically they were concepts, and many of them couldn't, develop the ultimate product. Just wanted to add.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, because it's just that challenge with the market as well, isn't it? And I guess with any of those projects that were 2021 and then coming into 22, obviously the bear market hit, and maybe the anticipated liquidity that they thought they might have and be able to kind of pull down to help fund their business is probably not there, as things kind of really slowed down. So I guess that kind of comes on to the next question, really, is like, how has the bear market affected launches? How's it affected the incubation? And what does it look like kind of as we look into 2023 now?
Well, the bear market affects pretty much every aspect of the project, because funding's harder. It's hard to find people within the space as well to build great teams. It's, because, mostly lack of funds and interest. Like, if you launch a product, a game today, you're not going to get a quarter of the audience that you would get during a bull run. In a bull run, if you have a nice product, you have a nice visuals, nice thing, you're going to get more interest straight away. So everything is exponential, right? So you're getting less people, you have to work twice as hard, and the money as well, because you need to build a product that's amazing, and at the same time, like, you're competing with others that are creating really good things, because the quality is getting a lot higher than it was a year ago, especially in gaming. Like, it's insane. The quality has gone from, I would say, 1990s 2000 games to now we're getting really nice quality games. So it's really hard, and plus they need to wait longer to launch, so they need to spend a lot more money as well. So you have less money, you need to spend more money, and it's harder to get people on board, so you're getting less revenue as well. So it's all of these factors that it's like it's hard to launch. Yes, but it's very good to build, because people that are there, people that are in your project today, they will be there in the bull run for sure. Whereas a bull run, you get a lot of people join in and leave in telegrams every day. But the people that are here now, they're here to stay. So it's a great way to build your solid community. And yeah, so it has its disadvantages, but it also has a lot of pros. So it's depending on how you look at it. But yeah, that's the main things of how it's affected a lot of our incubation program. It's going to last some time, because we're helping them build a nice long-term sustainable project, and that's the main changes, I would say.
Yeah, and I guess with that in mind, starting to think about what the incubation service looks like to the founders that you're working with. Are there like common themes or frequent topics that you find yourself talking to the same project? The big things that are either forgotten or overlooked, or just really fundamentally important things that a project founder must do in order to be successful going forward. Are there some top tips that you can think of in that space, both for NFT and more kind of crypto projects?
I may say tokenomics, and tokenomics. Like, we are still struggling with overvalued like tokenomics of the project. I guess this is one of the most important things, and if they already start raising from some seed and private strategic and angel investors, it is a bit hard to change their tokenomics, although it's gonna be, like it's gonna be more advantageous for the previous round also. So this is what I can say.
Yeah, I would agree. Tokenomics is a massive massive change, and it's a massive thing that we get all the time, because a lot of, because it's a very new space, especially Web3 gaming. It's a new space. Game economies, it's not new. There are some game economies in Web2, very good game economies, in fact. But the problem is the nature of tokenomics and NFTs, but you can trade absolutely anything. It changes the game dynamics, also the behavior of the players. If you can earn money, if you can earn real money, then behavior changes straight away. If there's a loophole, it will be found within an hour a day, right? If there's a loophole in your economy. Whereas in Web 2, there can be some loopholes. No one really like it's not really. I mean, there are patches and things like that, but it's not a big problem. But in Web 3, these type of things are going to be big problems. So we're constantly working with projects that have these challenges, I would say, and we try the best within members of the Seedify Incubation Programme and beyond. Also, we have many advisors and we talk to many people from different chains, and so we try to find strategies that would work within the in-game economy and tokenomics as well. Yeah, like 40 or 50% of tokens reserved for play and earn is just not possible. I mean, it doesn't work. Inflation is it's.
I think there's that romantic dream with play to earn games that you can forever pay the players for playing, right? And I think trying to think about what a sustainable economy and how that game is going to, the longevity of the game, going to generate some revenue that there can then be emissions is also an important part that I think is often forgotten. Just the hope that we can forever pay the players is probably a dream that is not going to materialize going forward.
It's like a very exaggerated reflection of money printing and inflation in real world, like hyperinflation, right? It's like if you want to reward people more, then give more tokens. Like if you want to give more, like give even more tokens. Just mint new tokens, but continue giving tokens. Like doesn't make sense.
I think that will hopefully move on as the games get better and some of the other economies start to develop as well around things like tournaments and NFT launches and battle passes and all those types of things that work well in Web2 gaming as well. And some of those things have got to carry over. Moving on to you mentioned the tokenomic side, but also like the marketing. What are some of the key things that you see projects do really successfully that help generate, that first audience? Because, any new project has to go from 0 to 50,000 followers, right? Which is, I think 0 to like 10,000 is probably the hardest to get action. And what strategies or initiatives do you see that are working well at the moment?
Yeah, it's really hard. Like the first followers that a project's going to get, it is very challenging. But I mean, I'm not a big marketing person, but I would say the most important, in my opinion, is good partnerships and good events that are happening within your community, and also having a product, but you can also release like different things to your community slowly that they can enjoy and use. Say, for example, you're building a game, let them try the demo, let them give you feedback, let them maybe do some mini tournaments within the game, even though if it's not 100% ready or if there's still some bugs, it's okay. Like, just try to work within the community and really try to strengthen it as much as you can. I would say community building is the most important.
Yeah, the projects I've seen, I would tend to agree. Getting attention is one thing, and you can do that through a number of different things. Partnerships are great. Paid advertising, of course, is great, but also expensive. But keeping that audience engaged and then delivering a product to them that they can actually engage with and benefit from is really big as well.
Exactly. That's what I would say is making sure that your audience is happy, making sure your community is happy, and that can be through tournaments, can be through maybe free mints in NFTs, but can also translate to maybe Discord roles, can be some also, like I don't like giving free NFTs. I think you shouldn't just give free NFTs just for like giveaways and things, but really just reward your community members. Like if they're active, give them a nicer role on Discord and give them a free NFT for being active. If they're really good at a game, give them a specific NFT that can maybe give them an advantage when the game is launched, or maybe some more like, I don't know, like a kill cam or something really cool. But yeah, I think like really working with the community, seeing what they like, and seeing it as an advantage to have a small community, so you can really try to please your community. As your community grows, it gets harder and harder to please them. So I would say using what you have, and using, even if it's not a lot, using really what you have to try and work with your community and do something nice. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been CMO at 2 different gaming projects, and the community of guilds, other partnerships around the technology that we're using, the blockchain that you connected to and using, all of those, that ecosystem of partners is just hugely valuable, because they've all got their own audiences, and we hope that we can kind of share and integrate some of those audiences and build the community around your game. And then, of course, the key thing is people get excited by having a product. So like landing some type of beta or MVP on their hands, provide them access, like you say, with a special role in Discord, tend to work really well. And yeah, I mean, as we're talking about community, I can't kind of pass the topic without saying, for this podcast in itself, we've got 2 subscribers. One is me, one is my 13-year-old son. We're recording our first episode here. So if someone's like 31 minutes into this podcast, make sure they press subscribe, and we'll try and get our audience up as well, because we're obviously community building as we're here as well. So yeah, a shameless plug halfway through. It's got to be done. I think as a final question, and kind of leading into how projects or potential founders that are listening to this can work with you guys and start getting involved with what Seedify do. What are some of the advice topics or themes or preparation that people can do to potentially be ready for the support that you offer?
So there are many things. So first of all, just reach out to us. You can reach out to us. Go on our Telegram, and there's you can reach out to our ambassadors. They're more than happy to help you guys. You can also go on our website. There should be a form there that you can fill in. But yeah, just reach out, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. But in if I can make a short quick like, what we really want is, first of all, you have to have a team in place. We don't just work with ideas anymore. Unfortunately, we really do require a nice product. It doesn't have to be ready, but at least have some features. We do also really like the multiplayer side of games, just because, when NFTs and tokens come into place, it's all about trading, right? I give you this, you give me that, and it's all about exchange. So we really like multiplayer games, and also we look at the community as well. What do you do in your community? Are you active in your community? What happens if they ask a question? Do you answer? It doesn't matter really how big or small the community is, but how do you deal with it, and how are you doing with your actual community? But yeah, that's the main things we look at. Game, like, do you have a good game or a very good potential, like, to be a good game? How are your socials? And yeah, team is also very important. Like, you can tell an ambitious team straight away. It's like, we've met with hundreds of projects. Now, not so much. I mean, I'm not so much on the acquisition side. It's more Rick, but like, we've met a lot of projects, so you can tell straight away when you see them. Is it real passion for their project, or is it just, a sales pitch? Is it really what they want to do? Like, you can tell straight away. So really, like, having a nice team, a passionate team about their product, and a good game. They're the most important things, and yeah, that's what we look for when choosing our incubations. It's also a process within our team. We make sure that all the departments look at the project, and that all of them agree before we accept it. So it's also an internal decision that requires input from a lot of people. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of preparation for the process they start to go through, right? So I think the hardest thing for any founder is that getting the ball rolling and getting that initial momentum on something. Obviously, putting a founding team together, probably getting the right techies in place to be able to start building an MVP and like a, first version of the product or whatever it may be. The prototype of the game, if that's what it is getting that to that stage is probably one of the hardest things for any founder. And then that launch process of like getting to market, I think is obviously where you guys have got a lot of experience and support there. All of these things take money, right? It costs money to get started, which I think is one of the early challenges for some of these founders.
Yeah, but about that, Bas, I think passion, like, and ambition, are really, really important, and discipline maybe, and because like, yeah, like, I don't want to make a comparison here, but Chad and I are also having a lot of meetings with game studios that are currently in the Web2 world, but that are planning to immigrate the whole thing, or like integrate the blockchain into their game. And like sometimes even like a team of two, like they are developing the game, they are building their own small community with sincere communication with them. They're getting their game feedback from them. They have a Discord, like although it's small, like we see 2,000 people, 2,000 Discord with 2,000 members, like 10 of them online in Web3 projects sometimes. But if you have like 200 people, 100 of them online in a Web2 project, which one is a more strong community? I mean, so like what I was saying is that like passion, ambition, and discipline, like these are very important. So it shouldn't be all about money, I guess. Like if you are, let's say if you want to make a tweet a day on your socials, if you want to communicate with the community, if you want, I think it's not all about money. And yes, it requires money, but not all.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think there are scrappy smaller teams that have the skills on board that are using functionalities that help them get maybe slightly further ahead with less money, and that's a really good way to approach it.
Yeah, just to add, yeah, like even like there's some very like niche games made by solo developers on Steam, for example, that are absolutely brilliant, and it's like a solo developer that has developed it in 6 months. And then on the other hand, some teams with big budgets, big teams, it's there's no movement sometimes for 3 months. They're still sitting down on the concept side. But sometimes small teams, they have the advantage as well of going fast. Maybe that they say alone you go fast, in a group you go further. Maybe that's true, but some solo developers or small groups of developers, they really do have the ability to go fast and to make really nice products. And I really do believe that if like Rick said, passion, like even if it's not your full-time job, you can maybe get to a stage that's really interesting, for maybe investment, or maybe people that are willing to work with you, because you have a good product. And at the end of the day, yeah, passion is like, you're able to build amazing things if you really like it. I really do believe that.
Yeah, and I think people radiate towards that as well, which is why you get those small games with super engaged communities, because they see the passion, like you say, from the founders, and that's contagious, in this space, which is good for them. Good. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground. As I said at the beginning, this is the first version of our podcast, but I also want to start a tradition, which you guys get to be the first people to go through it, and that's to finish with the same question on every podcast. I'd really like to get your perspective on where you think the industry will be in 1 year from now and 5 years from now, because that's two different timescales that hopefully two radically different things. But through the lens of the way that you're working in crypto, where do you think it's going to be in 12 months and 5 years from now?
I was checking the calendar for. I'm a person that a little bit believes in the cycles and halvings, no matter what. Like the industry is doing with, like great innovations and stuff like that. Just checking my calendar. So, but 1 year from now, I think the market is gonna be good, um, much better, I believe. And 5 years from now, um end of another bull run, like in the middle
Uh,
of another bear, I don't know.
What do you think in terms of like adoption? I started by saying, interview the people that hopefully help the next 100 million people come to crypto. Um, do you think there's catalysts in those next 5 years that are going to drive that level of adoption, or do you think there's still further to go?
I think adoption rates will of course increase, but um I just cannot ignore one thing, like how is the market? Is it green? Is it red? Like if the market is green, we see a huge adoption rate, right? Everyone is playing games like Web3 games, and everyone is jumping in, projects popping up in every areas, like innovating everything that you can imagine. And when the market is red, we see no adoption. So in a way, I think the technology and this market condition should, like in a way, I don't know, disconnect themselves so that I can still use blockchain in my daily life, even though the token of that technology is not pumping today. So this is still the biggest problem, I think, and maybe it will take another decade or 20 years to measure that much. Not I'm not the financial guy also here, but this is what I guess.
I think what you're saying is similar to how like people are still buying Teslas and excited by Tesla, and they're still watching Netflix, even though their share price has kind of gone down, right? But at the moment in crypto, when we're down, like no one's here, no one's buying the Tesla. So I think that's
Yeah,
a market maturity thing that is quite some. How about you,
I
Chad?
mean, yeah, I agree to an extent, but I still think, like for example, the number of gamers in Web3 has increased. The number of wallets that has been created in the Web3 gaming sector has increased massively. Like I can't remember the last numbers, but it's massive. Like there is a big increase of Web3 gamers, for example. Like it is happening, even though we're in a bear market, people are still coming to play, which I think is a good sign, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, Baz, I do kind of agree with you in a way that, yeah, one day, even though Bitcoin drops, people will still be using it in their daily lives. And I think there can be this disassociation, but the best would be in, I don't know, 20 years when I mean, like the dollar, right? Like it's pretty much stable. Well, pretty much stable, because people use it every day, and Bitcoin will be the same, and many other things will be the same. I suppose where it's going to be stable because everyone uses it and the adoption is there. And I think we will get to that point. Going back to the question, yeah, in 1 year, what do I see in 1 year? I think NFTs will go to a completely different level. Like already, there's very interesting NFT types, very interesting ERCs that are out that are actually starting to replace, I would say, even some protocols. So many of these aspects will be embedded within NFTs, which I think is going to be interesting. It's going to make sure that they're safe, and it's also going to like change, for example, of how you own an NFT and many different things. Um, the market might be better. Yeah, I think in a year, I do see a bull market this year, to be honest, and it could happen tomorrow. I really believe that. I think it can happen anytime when you least expect it. Boom, could happen. Um, in 5 years, yeah, I do see a nice adoption in 5 years. I really do. The technology is good. Like we can't deny it. Blockchain technology is good, and it's getting better. One of the main things that the blockchain have to work on is just the user experience. user experience in blockchain is terrible. Like, come on, let's admit it. But it's getting better, and when it does get better, when people know how to use it, it's like I saw an image. I don't know if you remember the old Internet Explorer browsers, and you had like so many tools on the taskbar, but it was like nearly half your screen. You downloaded something, and then a taskbar pops up, and it was just like really weird, right? That's what I think we're in. I think we're in a stage where UI isn't great. It's getting better, but yeah, I think UI isn't great, and also like we have to. There is only one thing, which is the culture of owning your keys, and I think this is quite important. That we really have to educate. But apart from that, user experience, I think, is a must if we want to onboard people.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I worked for 12 years in e-commerce before I came to Web2, and frictionless experience was like the thing that everyone talked about. And let's face it, e-commerce is really good at taking your money and delivering products now. Like, that's just what they do, right? Amazon is instant. You don't even need to put your card number in or anything. So I think if Web3 can start to emulate that user experience and drive things forward, it's just going to be easier to onboard people because it's less complicated than MetaMask and approving everything and blah, blah, blah. So I think you make some really good points. Which kind of brings us up on time. We're at 45 minutes. I don't know if there's any closing points you guys wanted to cover, but I don't want to keep you too long. If there's anything else you wanted to add?
I do. I do. Sorry, you want to cut it. At Seedify, we are also focusing on AI projects. It's something we're trying to focus on, and we're trying to really identify early AI projects for the really building something nice. And just to give you a good example of how this can be completely revolutionary in gaming, like if you were to have different AI on NFTs, for example, you can, for example, automatically generate them and generate their usability within other games. Like, let me give you an example. I buy an NFT as a shield. I put it through my AI program on my service, and all of a sudden that sword is available in all games, as long as they have, of course, the integrations. But it's going to make the integration so, like, it's going to be done in such a way that it has no other choice to really be the go for to other games, especially with game studios for, they want to join some of their like game assets together. Really, blockchain is amazing, and the integration of blockchain and AI, just with this one small example, it's totally revolutionary. And this is why, as well, at Seedify, we are starting to shift our focus. I mean, of course, like focused on gaming 100%, but AI is going to be an aspect that's going to be everywhere, and we're really looking at these type of integrations at the moment.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's such a good point to finish on, because all the ChatGPT hype that's been around recently is one thing. I mean, it's exciting technology, but the real use cases of AI that are going to come out of technologies like that are just totally revolutionary, going to blow our mind and really speed things up, I think. It's a nice way to finish also, because we're for every episode of the podcast, we're also going to use a brilliant AI artist who's going to create a PFP NFT that we're going to mint for each episode of the podcast. So we'll put a link to that in the description as well. On OpenSea, basically all the royalties and any sales money from those NFTs are going to go to a Web3 orientated charity as well. So yeah, it's just something we're going to do to use the cool technology, hopefully engage our audience, and serve a good cause as well. So we'll be linking to that in the show notes, and I guess that probably is a time to wrap up. But I'll take the opportunity to say thank you to you both, Chad and Rick. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you. Working with you in the past, and I hope we do some more things together. If there's any key projects you guys are working on as well, that think would be a good first, maybe you can add that into your incubation process, that you bring them on here, and we can talk about their game or their project, whatever it might be. Let's think about that.
Amazing.
But thanks to anyone that made it also for the full 49 minutes. It's been a great conversation, really insightful, and appreciate you guys' time.
Thank
Really
you so
nice.
much, guys.
Thank you for inviting us. It was brilliant.
No worries.